Here's Goodnight Olive making her move to take the lead by a head around the far turn. Race Kane has nearly 10 lengths to make up, so does Scooby Guando, verifying the leader. Top of the stretch, Capit Trice is coming onto the outside. Up to the mark is running late behind Master of the Seas. Set piece down the center of the course. Master of the Seas alongside Annapolis. Here's Elusive Princess coming after Maj, and Mission of Joy tries to find room between that pair. Maj has the lead. Mission of Joy second, Elusive Princess third. The champ in front. Goodnight Olive chased all the way. Capit Trice! Capit Trice wins the Toyota Bluegrass.
And welcome in, everyone, to the Keeneland Look Ahead. I'm Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player Now as we look ahead to the Friday, April 12th card. The Grade 1 big one on the turf for the meet. Can't wait until we get Master of the Seas back, and the Maker's Mark Mile on Friday is the feature race. Going to be a fantastic card. 10 races scheduled. First post set for 1 o'clock as it is each and every day. What a big weekend of racing we have with the racing on Saturday. Grade 1 Jenny Wiley coming up. So if you like turf racing, we haven't had it Wednesday or Thursday. Let's cross our fingers that we get some grass racing on Friday. But as we speak, the rains continue in Lexington. It's supposed to maybe cut off around 2 a.m. tonight, looking at some of the forecasts and models. So maybe tomorrow it'll be a little drier, but there's a 40, 50, 60% chance of showers throughout the day then at various points in the day. So will we be on the turf? Will we not be on the turf? Last night we estimated, 95%? I said we're probably going to be off the turf. As we look ahead to this Friday card, I don't know. I really don't know. I would say that they're going to do everything in their power to keep the Grade 1 Maker's Mark Mile on the turf. Whether or not we get to see the Giants Causeway on the turf on the undercard, whether or not race number 5 stays on the turf, that would be certainly least priority, right? If you think a race is going to move off the turf on the Friday card, it would start with the 5th race. That would be the first one to probably come off. And then, from that point, the Limestone is the other stakes race, Giants Causeway coming up on Saturday. The other race, the Limestone Stakes in race number 7, would be the second most likely to come off the turf. But I think they'll do everything they can to keep the 9th race on the grass. Let's keep our fingers crossed for that. As for the conditions of racing, we had all main track racing on Wednesday and again today on Thursday, where speed completely dominated on Wednesday. Not so much. 6 of the 9 winners were basically front runners on the card today, but there were 3 closers and some deep closers. If there was enough pace in these races, horses were able to come from off the pace. Almost all 2-turn races. We had a baby dash, we had 1 sprint, and then 7 route races on the card. And it worked out well for me. I'm a pace handicapper, a race shape kind of guy. And, we ended up with 5 winners on top today. So hopefully if you played along and added some more in the races I didn't hit, I hope you had a great day as well. It's been a good run here over the last 2+ days, going back to Sunday's finale. We said it was momentum maybe into this week when we had the $20 winner to close things up on Sunday. That's been the case. 9 for what we have 9 races today, 8. So we're 9 for 17 this week. So 10 for 18 on top, dialing back to Sunday's last race. So good day today. We're plus for the meet right now. We're up about $38 for the meet. If you bet $2 on each top choice throughout the course of the first 5 days of the season, let's see if we can continue that. 11 days to go at Keeneland. The 11th of those starts right off with this card on Friday. A couple more notes about, who's hot, where you're looking for winners. 5 winners from Turfway on the off track today. So Turfway had 5 of the 9 winners, 2 from Gulfstream, 1 Tampa, and then Wesley Ward had another first-time starter. He's now won 3 of the 4 2-year-old races. Any thought that Wesley Ward was going to loosen his grip on the dominance of the 2-year-old division at Keeneland were greatly exaggerated by anyone. He's won 3 of the 4 so far this meet. Perfect Chance is the winner today. First-time starter by Chancelot. I don't know if it was the very first starter by Chancelot, but I'm pretty sure it was the first winner by Chancelot at stud. Mike Maker had 2 wins on the card today. They were good to us. 2 wins for Brian Lynch as well. So a couple Florida trainers, snowbirds coming north and have done well here early in the meet. Of course, Maker also has plenty of horses coming over from Turfway, but 2 wins today for Maker, 2 for Brian Lynch. As for the jockeys, Junior Alvarado won a pair on the card. Yesterday, it was 8 races, 8 different jockeys. Today, 9 races, 8 different jockeys. Junior Alvarado, the only to double up. Okay, so how are we going to handicap this Friday card? Conditions wise, what do we expect? If it's not as wet, it doesn't look like we're going to have the complete sloppy kind of track maybe that we had today. If it's drying out a little bit, what are we looking for as a handicapper? The funkiest tracks to handicap of all is a drying out racetrack. So it could get a little weird tomorrow on the main track. I mean, let's just be honest with this Friday card. So we're going to try to evaluate what's happening on the fly. I'm going to give you a couple benchmarks here. If you have a pen and paper or on your phone, on your notes, nobody writes things down anymore except me, I think, but type it into your notes on your telephone or put it to your memory here. But if I'm evaluating the early races on the card on Friday and I want to know whether this is a tired, drying out racetrack, here are the par times we're looking for. Race number 1 is a 6 furlong claiming race. The average time for this kind of class and distance in the spring meets at Keeneland is 1:11:16. So 1 minute, 11 seconds, 0.16. 1:11:16 in race number 1. If they go around that number, then the track's probably about where it should be. If they go faster than that number, then it's kind of one of those compressed and everybody's staying on top of it racetracks, kind of like we get at the beginning of this week with the slop, right? Everything kind of gets flattened out and squeegeed out. The water stays on top and they get over it and run pretty quick times. But if they are way slower than 1:11:16, if they're in the 1:12s, 4 or 5 lengths slower than what they should be going, now it's one of those deep tiring out racetracks. What does that mean as a handicapper? You want to focus on horses that have some stamina. They could become from behind horses. They could be kind of one-paced horses, but you don't want horses that typically give up the lead on a drying out racetrack. Those are the kind you're going to eliminate from your handicapping for sure. Also, horses cutting back in distance could be more effective if it's a tiring, deep racetrack. So maybe the horses that you normally say at a mile and a 16th, I don't like them so much at 7 furlongs or 6.5. You might on a track like that. The other times to look at, race number 2, that's a 7 furlong race. And at that classification in race number 2, their maiden claimers going 7. The average time is 1:25:39 in our database for these kind of horses. So anything much slower than 1:25:39 would tell you that they're going slow in race number 2. And then race number 3 is a 1.125 race. So it's our only 2-turn race early in the card. 2-turn races, 1-turn races often run a little bit differently. So this does give us a good sample. We have 3 main track races right off the bat. 1 maidens going short, or 1 claimers going short. 1 with maidens going 7/8 of a mile, and then a 1.125 with good allowance horses. The time we're looking for in race number 3 is 1:51:25. So again, those 3 times. Race number 1, 1:11:16. Race number 2, 1:25:39, and race number 3, 1:51:25. So you're just trying to see if the numbers are like close to around there, then handicap the races just like they look on paper to you and may the best horse win in your handicapping evaluation. If they're running a lot slower than that, you might think this is a really deep, tiring racetrack, and now start to factor in those horses, shortening the distance a little bit. Maybe a come from behind her that you may not like in a race profile so much on most days could be there today. The good thing about that and why you get funky payoffs and funky results on these drying out racetracks is people don't bet closers. It's just not the way it is. Closers rarely get good speed figures. They're usually a benefit of a race that goes fast and then falls apart and doesn't put up a great final time. So they're not going to run the big buyer figures or get big thorograph numbers or anything like that. Closers are almost always going to be overlooked on the tote board, and you're going to get a better price on them. So if it's a track profile where speed is just backing up, then all the horses with the good numbers and the figures and the flashy past performances with all the 1s and 2s in them, those horses are going to get beat, and they're going to get beat by horses that just don't have the same kind of sex appeal at the window, and therefore that's how you're going to end up getting prices. So we could be looking at some prices if it's a more drying out racetrack. Now, all this talk over the last few minutes could be for naught on Friday, because if the rains continue and we have another racetrack like we had today or like we had on Wednesday, then just keep doing what we're doing, right? We're looking for speed. We're looking for horses who have good form on off tracks. And we're trying to get horses out, into good positions. You want good riders, horses in good position in their races, and to stay out of trouble and stay in the clear as best they can. That's what we're looking for if it stays kind of sloppy. But if it dries out, you got my dissertation on how to handle it. Hopefully that helps you not only here, but in, future handicapping, not just here at Keeneland or maybe later in the Keeneland meet or at other tracks. Now, you're not going to have par times for all those races to evaluate, but kind of get a sense and know your track. Look, like 110 is usually a pretty good time for 6 furlongs. They just ran 1:11.4. That's slow. Why'd they go so slow? Well, the track is demanding. And so kind of keep those kind of things in mind as you move forward in your handicapping. All right, let's get into this Friday card. We're 10 minutes in here. We've got 10 races to get to. So here's the snapshot for the Friday program. 10 races, pick 5 starts in the opener. Races 2, 4, and 6 in orange are going to be my key plays of the day. They come up a little earlier in the program. Later in the day, we've got, some turf races and stakes, and we'll discuss those in detail. But my key plays are going to be in races 2, 4, and 6. No carryover in the pick 6. There were a couple live possibilities going into the finale today, but the winner in the last race was covered in the pick 6, so no carryover. We will start anew in the $1 pick 6 starting in race number 5. Turf pick 3 is scheduled. It's races 5, 7, and 9. We run the turf pick 3 even if these races come off the turf, so there will be a turf pick 3 on races 5, 7, and 9 on Friday at Keeneland. Late pick 5 starts in race number 6, which is my final key play. And then the stakes races come up later. The 7th is the Limestone, and the 9th is the Maker's Mark Mile. No carryover in the Toyota Super High 5. That'll wrap things up at race 10. And don't forget those rolling daily doubles with the low 15% takeout. We hit another nice one today, trying to build out a little value. When you can get a daily double and get consecutive horses on a program, you're building and you're compounding your payoffs, and that's what you're looking to do. So that 15% takeout daily double puts 7 points back in your pocket when you're right. So get paid when you're right, strategize and try to attack. We'll talk some daily doubles. Also release a daily double video with my 2 key daily double plays each morning. So be sure to follow me on social media. You see the handle at the bottom there, at Horseplayer Now on Twitter. And I put out my daily double plays each day in the morning for that day's racing. So let's go to the picks in the grid from the consensus at Keeneland.com. The handicappers across the way: Scott Hazelton, Tom Leach, myself, Gabby Gaudette, easy for her to say, not for me, and Kim Nelson. So here are the picks in race number 1. Looks like a 2-horse race on paper, according to the public handicappers. Number 2, Figuretti, picked on top by Tom and Kim. As for myself, Gabby, and Scott, we're all on the 6 in here, Tilted Towers. Tilted Towers takes a big class drop in here. Should be one of the favorites in the race. And look, if this looks like a 2-horse race on paper, this is not the kind of place to go venturing around for a price. Favorites are 27 for 60, almost 50%. In 6 furlong claiming races here during the spring meet. This one's just at the $16,000 level. When we get down to this level, 16,000 or less, those favorites are 7 for 11. That's 63%. So I would not look for any kind of price in this kind of situation. Tilted Towers, Figuretti look like the 2 best horses on class. They've got high percentage trainers in Brittany Vandenberg. Vandenberg's not having as big a year this year as last, but we know what she can do numbers-wise. And Jose D'Angelo's having a big year down in Florida. He brings Figuretti north of the Chilean bred. 6-2, the way you get through race number 1, I think, in here. The 6 comes off some form at Hawthorne. We saw Hawthorne horses run pretty good on the card on Wednesday over the wet track here, so wouldn't be surprised if that one runs right back. Nothing too creative in race number 1. It's not the kind of race where you want to get creative, but again, keep an eye there on the times, how the running styles play out. Tilted Towers should be a horse who's, not too far off the pace. This horse wants to, be within the first 2-3 lengths of the lead. When this horse runs its best races, usually show some early speed. So if you get some gate pop out of Tilted Towers under Jarrett Loveberry, then you're in the race. If this 8-year-old doesn't break, then you're going to have to work for it. And maybe we'll see if the track helps them come from off of it a little bit more on Friday, or if speed continues to be very effective in the one-turn races. That's a look at race number 1. To race number 2, it's my first of 3 key plays on the card. Pick 4 action begins here in race number 2. And this is a race where I think we've got a chance to pull an upset. And when we're talking about some crazy results, this is the kind of race to do it. Race number 2 is a maiden claimer at 7 furlongs. We've had 25 of these in the spring meets in the past. Favorites are 8 for 25, which isn't so bad, about a third. But consider this, 10-1 shots or more have won 8 of 25, I should say, not the favorites. 10-1 shots or more. Strike that from the record. Here's what we're talking about. 25 races, 7 furlong maiden claimers. 8 of them won by horses 10-1 or more. So a third of the races are won by horses double-digit odds, and these maiden claimers going 7/8 of a mile in the spring. That's why we're looking for a little bit of a price in here, and I'm going with number 7, High Alert. There's a lot of different reasons I like High Alert in this particular spot. Will be the first time racing at Keeneland for High Alert. but this is a horse who's sired by Connect. Connect had 5 winners from just 19 starters, so that's over a quarter. Over 25% winners last year at Keeneland on the dirt. Connect's already had a winner, I believe, at the meet here in 2024. So I like the pedigree here. I also like the fact this horse cuts back a little in distance. I'm going to assume that this track's going to be drying out a little bit, but cutback horses do well in these races. The 7 furlong maiden claimers, 40% of them, 10 out of 25, won by horses trimming distance from a 2-turn race like this. And also 10 of 25, 40%, won by horses making surface changes. So horses coming turf to dirt, synthetic to dirt, and also horses shortening the trip. You get all that in one box with High Alert and a pedigree to like it here at Keeneland. I'm taking my shot in here in race number 2 with the 7-horse High Alert, one of my key plays early in the day because of the price possibilities. And we're on the island. I love being on the island. I think we had two island winners today on the card. So that tells me we're going to get the price that we're looking for on High Alert. Anything over, 6-8 to 1, I would take that and up. So that's the top choice here. The other thing, too, you got in here is Brad Cox with a big class dropper, the 6, a sharp shot. Why is this horse in for $20,000 when running against Epic Ride and Knightsbridge? I mean, some really good, talented horses in this 3-year-old crop. This just seems like a fire sale trying to unload sharp shot in here, in for $20,000. And then Wesley Ward debuts the 5, Modern Day Warrior. 25 of these races for maiden claimers going 7/8 that we talked about. Only 4 of those 25 won by first-time starters. So as much as we appreciate the Wesley Ward rookies on the bench like this, they don't win 7 furlong maiden claimers very often for any trainer. So maybe Modern Day Warrior gets overbet. Maybe the 6 sharp shot is in for $20,000 for a reason, because something is, he's just not that good, and they don't feel that he can win for any more than this. Gives us a chance for an upset. 7-horse High Alert certainly would use the 6 sharp shot with that one. Get an exacta play in there. So a win on the 7 and exacta box 7-6. The way I would attack race number 2, one of my key plays early in the card. Let's just go right to race number 3 here on the program. Race number 3, a 1.125 mile allowance race here. This is an interesting group where I really didn't find anybody that I'm in love with in this particular spot. You find one you like maybe, but nobody that I love. The 2, the Princess Sir, my top choice, the Princess Spur, as well as Kim Nelson. So we both have the 2 on top. That one gets a little underneath love from Gabby and Scott as well. If you look in this race, Barber Road is a horse who has retired. So Tom Leach with his early picks, it was announced this morning that Barber Road has retired. So he's going to come out of this spot. So no Barber Road going in race number 3. That will leave a field of 6. I ended up going with the Princess Spur because the horse has a good 1.125 race over the track last year, actually a year and a half ago in the fall of 2022. We'll take a shot in here. Phil Bauer, high percentage trainer, looking for a second win at the meet. So I took the 2. I don't have a strong opinion. This is not a race I'm going to get actively deep in gambling. But I think race number 1, if you're looking at the pick 5, you're probably no more than 2 deep. Race number 2, maybe 2 deep. In this race, you can use a few combinations then and try to, get through this leg for pick 4 and pick 5 purposes. Not a big fan of anybody in this particular spot. There's some respect for the one Pyrenees coming off of back-to-back wins. Obviously has a win on the wet track at Fairgrounds last time. Into Mischief, I don't know about that one at the 9 furlong trip in here. The bottom of the pedigree for Pyrenees would give that one a little more stamina. I could see you using 2, 7, 4, 1 in this spot. That's a lot of them for a 6-horse field, but I think in terms of safety and getting through this race, you're probably best off to use more combinations. You may have a stronger opinion than I do in race number 3. That's just the way it is. We can't make the opinions where they're not. Let's go to the 4th race. And as we look at the overview and the snapshot of the card, this is our second of 3 key plays here in race number 4. We've talked about this almost on every show, at least when we've had a race like this condition. Non-winners of 2 lifetime claimer in here going 7 furlongs. We've said it before. We'll repeat it quickly. Non-winners of 2 lifetime means these horses have not won 2 career races. So who's won the best race? We've hit 2 or 3 really nice, juicy winners already here in the last week with that exact same angle. Well, if you look down what each horse has done and won in this particular race, a lot of them won maiden specials, but only one of them won a maiden special at Saratoga. And that's going to be your strongest win on paper amongst any non-winner of 2 anywhere. A maiden special at Saratoga in July. Aberdeen, the 8, is the one who has that. I think you just come right back with Aberdeen in this particular spot. First time back off the layoff, hasn't run since November. Switches barn, yes, from Todd Pletcher to Mike Maker. Maker with 2 wins on the card today. His barn going well this week. So I would expect Aberdeen with Luis Saez to be ready to roll in this particular spot. Saez, by far the best jockey at Keeneland in 7 furlong races. These 7 furlong races demand a little bit more, right? They're demanding sprints, which jockey can ration the speed, know when to turn it on and when to save a little. Saez has a great percentage of wins and also a positive ROI. You make a profit betting Luis Saez in 7 furlong races at Keeneland. He's on the 8 Aberdeen. That's going to be one of my key plays early in the card. Race number 4, the 8. As for the other handicappers in the 4th race, as we look across, nobody else with Aberdeen on top gets some attention in the 2nd and 3rd spots from the other handicappers. But if you look across, you got 2 for Harrodsburg, 1 for Moreau, and 1 for the 7 Age Truth. So 2, 4, 7, 8 all get top picks in here from various public handicappers. I'm wondering about the 2 Harrodsburg. Look, this is a horse who now shows up for an $80,000 claiming tag. First start since July. 6 to 5 in the morning line for a high percentage Rob Atris barn. But it comes out of the Dwyer Stakes, and this horse was running in Graded Stakes Company in July, comes back now for a claiming tag. Now, I get it. It's $80,000, and if they're willing to get a win and $80,000, maybe they'd be happy to take it with a horse who's obviously had some physical problems. But while I am fearful of Harrodsburg, I will say having Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard is a good sign on a horse like this off a long layoff. If it was kind of a no-name or lesser rider, then you might be worried that, look, they're trying to unload a horse in this particular spot. But when you get the top jockey in America to ride, okay, then we probably do have to keep respect in there for Harrodsburg. But I do think he's going to be an underlay price. Give me Aberdeen, Luis Saez, the 8, and we'll see if we can't pull a minor upset there in race number 4, one of my key plays in the early portion of the card. 5th race has been good to us this week. I think we've hit it the first 2 days and hit it nicely with some key plays. Don't have a key play here in race number 5, but this is one that's not a key play because I'm not sure where we're going to be surface-wise, right? This is a race where the turf pick 3 is slated to begin, but will we be on the main track? Will we be on the turf? Again, as we mentioned at the top, if you're late joining us in here, if a race is to come off the turf on Friday, this would be the first one to do so. They would take the allowance race off and try to keep the 2 stakes. If they have to take 2 stakes off and just try to help the course along to get to the grade 1, then maybe we just keep the feature race, the Maker's Mark Mile, on the turf. So race number 5, not sure what we're going to get in here surface-wise. I think if we do run on the turf, Expatriate, the 13 is interesting, but that horse is on the also eligible list. So I don't know what surface is in that we're going to get, and I don't know if the horse I like in this race on top's even going to draw in. So for me, it's a tough one in terms of being a public handicapper in advance. Expatriate is by Cairo Prince. What a year last year for Cairo Prince on the turf at Keeneland. You don't think of him necessarily as a grass sire, but he had 17 grass horses last year at Keeneland, Cairo Prince. 4 wins, 4 seconds, so almost 50% the exacta. A strong win percentage there. Expatriates, Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz. I don't mind the outside post in these turf races at Keeneland. The good jockeys seem to work out the trip. It's advantageous to be inside. If I get a horse I like and they have a good inside draw, then I like them even more. But the outside's not a disqualifier for me. If Expatriate can get into the field, that to me might be the horse to beat. The other one in here, Cali Sparrow, the 12, is one to keep an eye on because you've got some foreign pedigree with this horse, and by an Irish bred, and he's got French and Irish form. This horse should like soft turf, and that's what we're looking at. If we are on the turf, then Cali Sparrow is a horse that you want to consider in there. Got beat by Pounce down at Gulfstream. That was no bad thing there. Pounce come back to win a stakes race in the next start and ran here earlier in the meet in Stakes Company, I believe in the Transylvania or in the not the Valley View. The Valley View is a fall race, but whatever the 3-year-old filly race was last weekend, ran in that race. So Kalispera's coming out of some pretty good races in here. Outside horses, ones to watch in here, 13 and 12 in my estimation, if we're on the turf. The 5 Royal Wintour is drawn pretty well, and this horse comes in from Gulfstream off of a decent effort. The Gulfstream horses are usually where you want to look in these turf allowance races at Keeneland. Again, let's just assume that maybe we keep this one on the turf. If it comes off, if we look through at some of these other horses, there's not a standout horse in this race in terms of dirt form. You do have the 10 Just Better, who ran decent in the mud, first career start, was probably better on the turf, though, in the second career outing, and Justifies have done well on the turf here at Keeneland. So I'd rather this race for Just Better perhaps to stay on the turf, but that horse probably has the best running line of anybody in a dirt race. The 15 Curlow's Cause could come in off the AE list, did win on the main track, but that was at Mahoning Valley. So that's kind of apples and oranges when you're talking allowance horses here at Keeneland. No strong opinion at all if this race moves to the main track. We will have to reevaluate and handicap in the morning and kind of come up with a new plan for this race. So be sure to check out the social media channels at Horse Player Now. And of course, on the simulcast feed, we're updating our picks, and also update on the website too. When you go to the Handicappers Consensus Grid, I will update the picks in that spot as well tomorrow. So race number 5 is really to be announced on the Friday card. So let's go to the 6th race as we hit the back half of this card. Race number 6 is going to start the late pick 5. This will be my third and final key play of the Friday program. Usually don't make first-time starters key plays, but I really think Songmaker is going to come out running here for trainer Norm Cassie. What a pedigree by Birdsong out of the mare named Bird Maker. Very closely inbred here, but this horse is from the same female family as Birdtown, Birdstone, the Belmont winner, Birdtown, of course, the Kentucky Oaks winner. Just a ridiculously good female family here for the Whitney Stables, and a bullet workout down at Oaklawn. They could have debuted at Oaklawn. This horse had been training down there, but they saved her for Keeneland, and I think that's significant. People want to break their maiden. They want to get that victory at Keeneland, and I think it's a well-meant runner, Songmaker, coming up here. First time Saez rides here over the 6.5 furlong trip. I'm on the 4 in here, Songmaker, and Kim Nelson's also on the 4 in here, and a couple others got her picked on the bottom side. Look, I don't mind first-time starters in these maiden special 3-year-old races. We've seen 64 of these races held during the spring meets. Gulfstream preppers have 17 wins. First-time starters have 15. So the other circuits then go way down from there. It's rare to see Turfway horses win these races. Again, the 3-year-old maiden special sprinting on the dirt like this, only 3 winners via Turfway Park. And when you look at the past performances of this race, number 2, Keogh Beach, Turfway Park. Again, they don't win very often via Turfway in this particular spot. And then you look at the 8, May Strong, Turfway Park. I mean, they may be the 2 favorites in here. 2 and 8 may be the 2 favorites in this race, and they're both via Turfway, which the stats say you might want to take a step against. So that tells me if the best horses on paper are from Turfway, then this is one where the first-time starters could ring true, and that's why I'm on Songmaker, one of my key plays of the day. So let's go with that one. 4, 12, 9, and 2, the way I've got this one lined up. So 4, 12, 9, all horses first-time starter, 1 from Oaklawn, 1 from Gulfstream. Again, we're going to avoid the Turfway horses in our top spots, but I'm all over the 4 in this particular spot. See if we can't get this first-time starter home in race number 6. Let's go to the 7th. It's the Limestone Stakes. These are turf sprinting 3-year-olds on the grass, and we've got a welcome back situation in here to one of the best 2-year-old turf sprinters of 2023. Her name is Crimson Advocate. She won the Royal Palm. She won her Royal Palm Juvenile on the turf down at Gulfstream Park, and then she went to the Queen Mary Stakes, Group 2 at Royal Ascot, and she brought one home for the home team. Let's go back and take a look at that one as shown on Peacock.
Already they approach the final 2 furlongs, and Crimson Advocate in the red, white and blue, the near side. A beautiful diamond moves through into second position. Behind this Rebel Rally, Got to Love a Grey and Juniper Berries. Over on the far side, the dark blue of Flora of Bermuda's up there, but near side it continues to be Crimson Advocate with a clear advantage, but here is Relief Rally and Tom Marquand coming towards the line. It's very tight. Crimson Advocate and Relief Rally behind those a few lengths away. The beautiful diamond and Juniper Berries and Flora of Bermuda.
Out of that race, Crimson Advocate would set the pace, end up sixth, beaten only 2.5 lengths by Big Evs and company in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. That was against the boys. She's back with just fillies. It's her 3-year-old debut, and she's drawn post 10. George Weaver, John Velasquez teaming back up. Again, Velasquez had the ride over in England for the Queen Mary. He also had the ride on Breeders' Cup Day. A lot of respect in here for Crimson Advocate, who probably goes favored in this particular spot based on her strong resume last year at 2. But this is not a tap-in putt for her. I think this is a good field in here, and we've got some runners who can flat out get it. The one nicest pie has won 4 races in a row. Kelsey Danner trains, coming off a win today for Dee Dee McGahee. The owner-trainer combination won today. This one's going to come out of races at Turfway on the synthetic, but anytime you've notched 4 wins in a row, and by the daylight margins in recent races, the last 3 wins by over 15 lengths combined, you got to respect the one in here, nice as pie. This is a good-looking group of runners in here. You've got some options. I think the 5 Kodiak Wintergreen is really interesting. Rusty Arnold trains. This one cuts back in distance, comes off the layoff, working really well with a 46 and change move at Palm Meadows and a good post position. You know I like posts 3, 4, and 5 in these full-field turf sprints. We haven't popped one of these power posts yet this meet. We haven't had too many opportunities yet with a full field, but of those runners into 3, 4, 5 posts, I really think the 5 in here, Kodiak Wintergreen's got a big shot. Rusty Arnold, one of the top turf sprint trainers here at Keeneland. I know Wesley Ward's numbers are immaculate in the turf sprints, as good in the turf sprints almost as he is in the 2-year-old baby dashes. But Rusty Arnold is clearly second, I think, when it comes to trainers in effectiveness with these turf sprints at Keeneland. So Kodiak Wintergreen, the 5, my play in the limestone. We are hoping this race stays absolutely on the turf. If it switches to the dirt, then we've got to kind of reassess things because you're going to look at some major horses probably coming out of this race, and you're going to go from 14 down to who knows, maybe 7. So we would reevaluate this race from scratch. Do not have a solid play in here outside of the turf situation. I think they'll try to keep this race on turf as best they can. 7th race picks across the handicapper selectors box. Foxy Cleopatra get some love in here off of 2 straight wins. One at Presque Isle, one at Fairgrounds for Larry Ravelli. Ravelli can get a turf sprinter. We know that. This filly by Munnings, Jareth Loveberry. Speed connections. Don't be surprised if Foxy Cleopatra is the first one to show coming out of the starting gate. Tries to pop in here. We will see if she can handle a little step up in class in her first try in the stakes ranks. But she's the top pick in here, the 9 by Scott and also by Tom. Big Trouble, the top choice in here for Gabby. Be sure to tune in to Today at Keeneland to get her thoughts on why Big Trouble's her pick. She is on the island. Nobody else has Big Trouble in their top 3, coming off a maiden win at Fairgrounds last time by Cantheros. Greg Foley trains that one. Brian Hernandez Jr. will ride. So let's see why Gabby likes Big Trouble. Tune in tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Eastern for Today at Keeneland. That's probably going to be her long shot play of the day coming up in the 7th race. Let's go next to the 8th. We'll just keep it right here and move down a line to the 8th race where Suncroft, the top choice in here for both myself and for Tom Leach. I like when Tom and I agree. We agreed on a horse today at 1, made it a nice price. And Suncroft, we are together on this Turfway shipper for trainer Brad Cox. It's a colt by Arrowgate. I think some of the horses that Brad Cox brings from Indiana, Horseshoe Indianapolis, from Turfway, don't get the respect that some of the others do that come from Fairgrounds and obviously the main circuits here in Kentucky, the ones, the Churchill runners, when he runs a horse up in New York, obviously they get a ton of respect. But people seem to think that when Brad runs one at Turfway or at Horseshoe Indianapolis that they can't run. I get a feeling Suncroft's got a little more than what you're thinking in here. Really nice debut in December. Fast time in the second career start when running second in there. Clearly ahead of the 3rd place finisher. Suncroft would fit nicely in this position. Now, this is one of these non-winners of 2 lifetime allowance races. If you're trying to figure out who's got the best maiden win in here, it's not going to be this colt, obviously, with the debut win at Turfway Park in Maiden Special Weight Company. So I just sift through the past performances and you try to figure this one's not quite as easy to just kind of identify who's got the absolute best maiden win in here. But Tunisian Spring would be off the fall meet race here at Keeneland. certainly the biggest candidate to say that's the best maiden win on paper. Some others have won on some good circuits, but here at Keeneland in the fall, the 11 Tunisian Spring has the key race, the big win on paper. And of course, Violence, the sire, had 5 wins here just from 19 starters last year on the dirt. Good, strong percentage there. One of those wins was Tunisian Spring. You can expect the 11 to show good speed in here. The question will be 7 furlongs for that one, first off the bench since November. I like that Suncroft's had a more recent race to go the 7/8 of a mile trip. And again, if it's a tiring and demanding racetrack, lay off horses. We talked about like the ones you might want to avoid. Horses that are trying to go farther in distance, horses who normally go to the lead and try to hold on, horses coming off longer layoffs. I think if the track is tiring and demanding, and we will know that by race 8 for sure, if that's the case, then you kind of want to avoid the layoff horses in this deep and potentially tiring racetrack, especially at a tough distance like 7/8 of a mile. So I'll go Suncroft in race number 8. It's not a hammerhead kind of pick. It's not one of those where I'm just absolutely locked in. I think you absolutely have to respect the 11 in here, Tunisian Spring as well. The 3 Classic Legacy should fit, I think, at 7 furlongs. Mott's Barn is going well here early in the meet. Junior Alvarado rides. He had 2 wins on the card today. So I think you could also use the 3 in here. And the 4 Magic Express is by Good Magic. I like the form here. A winner at Aqueduct last time. It's Saez going 7/8 of a mile. So I could see you using the 4 as well. 4 deep in the multi-race wagers, 5, 11, 3, 4. A lot of different ways you can go in this spot, but I think you get through with 5, 11, 3, 4 from my estimation. That's how I line up race number 8. Use a couple ducks in here because I think we can narrow down the stakes race coming up next. The next race on the card is the Maker's Mark Mile. It's the second leg of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, and it's the return of last year's Breeders' Cup Mile winner, Master of the Seas. Let's go back to Larry Colmus's call from NBC with his big victory on the West Coast.
And on the inside, Maj looking to come off the rail now and make a run. And here she comes as she swings up on the outside. Then astronomer Cheryl Spite is coming on. Casa Creed rolling down the center of the course. Master of the Seas trying to get into it late. Maj in front. Casa Creed on the outside. Master of the Seas closing with a rush. Here's the wire. Oh, look at Dolphins. We're noses apart. Maj and Master of the Seas inseparable at the finish in the Breeders' Cup Mile.
Tremendous turn of foot by Master of the Seas. I almost didn't show that highlight because it still hurts. I needed Maj badly in that spot. I loved her in last year's Breeders' Cup Mile. She ran an A-plus race that wins the Breeders' Cup Mile most years, and she just got nailed on the wire by Master of the Seas. Look, we've seen Master of the Seas in a dogfight here at Keeneland before. In last year's Keeneland Turf Mile in the fall meet, a nose decision, 2 noses bobbing on the wire with up to the mark, and probably the race of the year at Keeneland last year. So Master of the Seas back here over this course, going to be tough, I think, in a field of 8. We're expecting the 7 du jour to potentially scratch out of here, as reported by Daily Racing Form. I have not seen that officially confirmed from the Keeneland Racing Office, but expecting du jour to potentially come out of that race. Kubrick, the 5, is the other one to consider, I think, and the 3, Naval Power. Naval Power, also trained by Charlie Appleby. The Godolphin Blue will be represented by both. They'll wear different colored caps to make it easier on Kurt Becker to figure out which is which. But Master of the Seas, the 4, Naval Power, the 3. Look, you got the Breeders' Cup champ in the 4-hole. The 3, Naval Power, all he's done is won 6 out of 7 career races. So there is nothing short of potential with that one, first time here in the U.S. And, of course, last year, Charlie Appleby ran second in this race, the Maker's Mark Mile, with Modern Games. He's had a good record. When Appleby brings horses over to Keeneland, I've got him in a database with 4 wins, 5 seconds from 16 starts. And couple of those are trio. Those are Breeders' Cup wins. Here, when the Breeders' Cup was here in 2022, Appleby won the Juvenile Turf Sprint, the Mile, and the Turf. His horses have run when they show up at Keeneland. They run when they show up anywhere. I expect a big performance out of Master of the Seas. First time back, first start of the year for Master of the Seas. First race since that Breeders' Cup that we just showed you. But that's been done before in this race in the Maker's Mark Mile. We saw Wise Dan do it not once but twice. We saw Kip DeVille do it back in the day. Horses who won the Breeders' Cup Mile and then made this their first race of the year. And we've talked about it a lot. Turf miles at Keeneland are havens for horses making their first start of the year. They just fire. They come in fresh. They're fit enough to get it done, and they're aimed for these spots. It's really effective in allowance races, stakes races like this. So a Keeneland Turf Mile, not afraid of a layoff. Don't be afraid of Master of the Seas break. I think he's going to run his race, softer ground. It's almost assured to be, a yielding soft turf course, obviously. And the Europeans have experience. They train on that. They race on it. Here in America, we take races off the turf completely for a little bit of rain. They don't train on a wet turf course ever here, on any racetrack proper. So just the experience factor of the international horses should shine through here on soft turf going. And not only that, but these are like three of the classiest, best horses that you're going to find: Naval Power, Master of the Seas, and Kubrick. So I think those three with that international experience and pedigrees rule the roost in the Maker's Mark Mile. Let's look at the other handicappers across the way. I was surprised that Master of the Seas did not get more top love. There's, first or second with everybody, but they're trying to take a little bit of a shot. Gabby's going with Integration. Tom's going with Emmanuel. He's going to get a price there on the Todd Pletcher trainee. Kubrick, the top pick in here for Scott. And then myself and Kim both have Master of the Seas on top. I like to say handicap the parentheses. I would go 4 or 5. And in fact, I tell you this, Naval Power will move up after scratches probably to my third choice in here. And, when we make our picks a little bit in advance here and we turn them in, there's some printed materials where you have to turn picks in that change the deadlines up a little bit. Knowing as soft as it's gotten at Keeneland over the last couple of days, I wouldn't make Integration my third pick now. I would definitely move Naval Power with that international experience up into the third spot. So we'll make that adjustment tomorrow, but definitely 4-5-3 the way I see it. If you're playing multi-race wagers in here, I would single Master of the Seas. I think he's going to win the race. I would not take the chance of doubling or tripling the cost of the ticket by adding a second or third runner in here. Like we talked about, there were 4 options in some of these other races. I like focus tickets on pick 4s and pick 5s and not spreads. So I'm just going to single Master of the Seas and try to get through here in the feature race. But if you're playing exactas, 4-5, 4-3, take that international experience and try to finish it off that way. Let's finish off the card in race number 10. It's the Toyota Super High 5. No carryover in that wager going into the card on Friday. We've got Starter Allowance Company in here. These races have been a chance to catch a little bit of a price. Starter Allowance routes, we don't get a lot of them in the spring, but 15 have been run. Favorites are just 2 for 15 in Starter Allowance routes. Horses 10 to 1 or more have won 3 of those 15. So we've been more likely to get a horse pay $20 than a favorite win in these Starter Allowance route races. We get to the end of the day, the track's been chewed up a little bit. It's tiring. Maybe we get a little chaos here in the nightcap. We'll see how it all shakes out. I ended up taking Lip Say Bliss on top. May not be a very big price, though. If you're looking for a bomb, that's not going to be a bomb. Lip Say Bliss, also the top pick in here for Kim, and one that's probably going to be amongst the top 3 or 4 wagering choices for sure in the race. But Robbie Medina trains. This one is a horse who one time dropped in for $30,000 and won easily. This is a starter allowance, $30,000 condition. So the horses had to have run for $30,000 at least once in their career. And I like when a horse wins for that max amount and runs only for that max amount once. Lip Say Bliss did everything you could do to be eligible for this race and be better than the other horses in terms of competition. I like that angle. I like the 7 Lip Say Bliss to send us out a winner in the nightcap. The 4 Midnight Raid is one for Norm Cassie. Could be a 2-win day for Norm Cassie. I like his first-time starter, Songmaker, in race number 6. Keep an eye on that one. Gabby's taking her husband's horse on top in this race. Maybe she'll have some insight to offer. 4-7, the 2 big ones here in the nightcap. The 1 Laughing All the Way is a horse should be forwardly placed from the rail. We'll see how Speed's holding throughout the day. This is one who gives way a little bit at the end of races, the 1 Laughing All the Way. So again, if Speed's holding up, you like the 1 in this race. If Speed's giving up and it's a tiring and slow racetrack, the 1 Laughing All the Way is the kind of horse who's not going to succeed on a day like that. So let's keep an eye on the track conditions. But 7-4 probably gets you through the nightcap here. But if you want to take a shot on that get out special, it is a race that has elicited some price plays. I just didn't particularly find any long shots that I'm in love with in the last race. Maybe you can fish one out for yourself. That's going to wrap up our handicapping for the Friday card. Maker's Mark Mile Day, first post 1 o'clock. We'll be back on Friday night, 8:30 Eastern, to preview the Saturday card. And what a Saturday program we have. 4 stakes races on the program. The Giants Causeway for the turf sprinters. We got the Jenny Wiley on the turf. And we got the big one. We've got the big one for the 3-year-olds, the Lexington, not the big one, I should say. I kind of blew the lead on that, didn't I? I mean, the Lexington's a good race, but the Bluegrass is the big one. But I am looking forward to the Lexington Stakes on Saturday because I've got a couple horses in there who I think are Triple Crown contenders. Encino, I think he can be a horse that factors in the Triple Crown races for Brad Cox. Liberal Arts for Robbie Medina, another horse who I think can factor somewhere in the Triple Crown if he gets back into his right mind frame. He just kind of mentally melted down in the Arkansas Derby last time on the Clubhouse Turn. If he gets back on his game, he is a legitimate top 10 horse in this crop, I think. So Encino, Liberal Arts on Saturday. Can't wait to talk about them tomorrow night on the Look Ahead. Have a great night, everybody. Be sure to check out the updated weather, the scratches, the changes, everything tomorrow morning. And follow on social media at Horseplayer Now and at Keeneland Racing for the most up-to-date information. Have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.